People who don't train, discipline, and correct their kids can't stand them. They don't even want to be around them. They're tired all the time because the kids are completely out of control. And they certainly don't want any more kids. All children are trained. They're either trained well or they're trained poorly. I used to train my children to sin. I taught them delayed obedience. How do you teach children delayed obedience? Well, one way you teach them delayed obedience is you tell them things over and over again. See, if I'm telling my child something over and over again, then I'm telling them, you don't have to obey me when I say, you just have to obey me eventually after I say it 4 or 5 times. So by repeating myself to my children over and over again, I was training them in sin. No, I tell you to do it. You don't do it. There's an immediate consequence. First time. Another way that I was coaching my children to be sinful is by yelling. I was a yeller. Veins popping out of my neck, using all 3 of their names. As a yeller, here's what I was teaching my children. You don't have to do what I say when I say it. You have to do it somewhere between the time I say it the first time and the time I get so frustrated that the veins pop out and you hear all 3 of your names. You're teaching sin if you're a yeller. You're training children in sin. And you're teaching them that you don't mean what you say when you say it. You only mean it when you get mad enough to scream. Fathers, here's what I also learned. By being a yeller, I was not only training my children in sin, but I was undermining my wife's authority in the home. Why? Because I am big and scary and I have a big voice. And if I use my voice to intimidate my children, my wife can't. So they respect me more than they respect her. So stop yelling. And as a matter of fact, I lower my voice when I give my children instructions. I don't want them to obey me because I yell. I want them to obey me because I'm dad. You hearing this, folks? I don't want them to sit around playing going, whoa, wait a minute, did daddy just whisper something to us? All children are trained. They're trained well or they're trained poorly, but they're all trained. First few years of life, this is crucial. These are phase 1 years. First few years of life, teach our children to do what they're told, when they're told, with a respectful attitude. So when they're in their quote-unquote terrible 2s, you know, Johnny, come here. No. And he runs away. Oh, aren't they cute at that age? No, they're sinful. That was sin. And if you don't correct it right now, you are coaching them to be sinful. And we got to get this early. If we don't, here's what happens. They're 14, 15, 16 years old, and they're looking eye to eye and going word for word. They're embarrassing us in public. They're embarrassing us in private. We don't like them. We don't want to be around them. We can't wait till they get 16 and get the car keys so they can just be gone. We love the youth group, not because of what they teach, just because we're not having to do it. We want them away from us. Why? Because they're beasts. And we think it's because they've reached a certain age. Nope. That's because that little thing that was in them, you let grow up. How do we get rid of that? Discipline and training. Early in life. Discipline, that's the easy part. Just read Proverbs. Spank their behind. Yeah, but I just don't believe in spanking. Then you don't believe the Bible. The Bible says folly or rebellion is bound up in the heart of a child, and timeout will drive it far from them. No, folly is bound up in the heart of the child, and the rod of correction, that's the only instrument God gives us to drive out the folly and rebellion in our children. And if we're not willing to use that instrument, the Bible says we're not willing to correct our child with the rod, we hate the child. There's another side of the coin. There's the discipline and correction and the training. Here's where we fall short. And whenever we come up against frustration with our children, we realize we're missing it on the training aspect. Training is coaching the children to do what we expect them to do, teaching them how to do it. Let me give you a prime example. The shy kid. It happens all the time. I'll come up to somebody and, hey, how you doing? And, hey, Johnny, this is Pastor Vody. Say hi to Pastor Vody. And Johnny doesn't do it. Johnny hides behind the leg. Here's what our culture says Pastor Vody's supposed to do right now. Pastor Vody's supposed to say, oh, that's okay. Nope, because Johnny is in sin and it's not okay. But here's what you can do to help Johnny. Train Johnny. So on Saturday, before you go to church on Sunday, you say, Johnny, tomorrow we're going to go to church. And you know, we meet people at church. And I know you're uncomfortable with that a little bit. So we're going to practice. And you get everybody together. And here's what I want you to do, Johnny. 3 real simple things. I'm going to say hi, and you're going to look me in the eye, number 1. You're going to grab my hand and shake it firmly, number 2. And you're going to say, hi, my name is Johnny. Can you tell me those again? And he repeats them to you. And then you do them. And then you do it over and over and over again, 15, 20 times. Every time he does it, you hug him, you kiss him, you give high fives. You talk about how good he's doing, how excited you are. That's awesome. And tomorrow's going to be incredible. Johnny can't wait to get to church. In fact, Johnny will stand next to you when somebody approaches and he will elbow you like, let's do it, let's do it. And then Johnny does it. He may not get them all in the right order. He's going to reach for the hand first. Oh, I'm supposed to look in the eye. Then he looks up in the eye, and then but he does it. And then you get down on Johnny's level, and you look him in the eye, and you catch him all over his face, and you give him high fives, and you say, I knew you could do it. And then Johnny goes, let's do it again. That's training. You don't just dive on Johnny for stuff. Train Johnny, teach him how to do what you expect him to do. Now he knows what's required of him, and everybody's clear and on the same page. Does that make sense? That's training, folks. And by the way, the correction goes a lot better when there's training, because now Johnny doesn't do what you told him to do. He knows he's going to be corrected because he knows exactly where he missed the mark. He rebelled. He knows what's coming next. I'm no longer the bad guy.